Welcome to using Malvern's framework, video number 2. In the first video, we covered where to find his framework and where to download it, or how to download it. And in video 2, I'm going to show you the mods that you want to use to build your mission, creating the mission folder and the mission SQM, then moving Malvern's mission files into that folder, naming your mission, going into the editor and configuring some, like the mission name and some other variables, placing down units, and then configuring those units with Malvern's framework. So whenever you build your mission, you want to use only the mods that you need to build the mission. So in this case, I'm working on another SOG Prairie Fire mission, so obviously I need the DLC loaded. And if you look into my different mod sets for the scripted SOG missions that I make using his framework, I have 3 presets. One is the just the required mods that you would need. The second is the mods plus whatever the mods that you need plus the client side mods that I would use. And then the last one is only the mods that I need to build the mission file. And the reason you want to only use the mods that you need to build your mission file is so you don't create dependencies with different client-side mods that sometimes do that. Enhanced movement is a big culprit of that. So in this case, I'm using these mods to build this mission file. And we'll go ahead and launch the game. While the game's launching, there's a caveat. There's several ways to do most of what I'm showing you when you build a mission. So don't take this as the only way. This is just one way. If you learn this way or know of another way, that's fine, as long as you get to the same end of the road that we're trying to get to. Alright, so for SOG, we go into single player, go into the editor, and in this case, I'm going to use cam load nom. So we load the map. And this map always takes a long time to load. And I don't have a snail PC either, or a snail laptop. Alright, now that the map has loaded, we can go right into just hit M for map, and it doesn't matter where we place it. If we already knew where we were going to start an FOB, or we knew where we were going to start, or the players would start, we'll just start here, FOB5 Ban Me Thought, and we'll put down LCID. Click on LCID, make sure he's a player, playable. He doesn't really have to be player, but at least playable. And we'll click OK. This is all you need really to save the mission file. In fact, you don't even need LCID, but I just laid him down. So go up to scenario, click Save As, and you want to be in multiplayer missions, not single player missions. And the naming convention that Malvern uses is somewhat standardized. I've seen different versions of it, like, here's a version CO6, which means co-op 6 _ Drifting Souls. There's some people that do the brackets like Malvern. I like to stick with what Malvern uses. So I haven't quite decided how many players I'm going to have for this. It's probably not going to be 18, but we'll just leave it at that right now. We'll put brackets. You don't want to leave white spaces in the name because then it gets annoying whenever the mission file saves, and there'll be like not apostrophe, but a percentage sign, and it just makes it harder to read the name of the mission file. So I use underscores, and we're going to call this, it's going to be a bright light mission. I might change the name later, but right now we're just going to call it bright light. I don't binarize the file. When it's binarized, it's supposed to load faster, but it really doesn't make that much difference. So you hit save. I'm going to Alt-Tab out, and I'm going to go into where multiplayer mission files save at. For me, they will save in my documents, ARMA 3, multiplayer missions, and you'll see all the mission files. You'll see the latest one I just added. I have a shortcut on my desktop, so it's right here. And all you have is the mission SQM right now. So we'll make that window smaller. I already have Malvern's framework unzipped and ready to be moved or copy and pasted into my mission file. So we've named the mission Bright Light. It adds the dot and whatever the map you're using, in this case CamLoNam. It had the mission SQM in it because I've dropped the LCID playable unit, and now I've moved Malvern's mission files into our mission. So what I do is I come back, I will click the open a mission file, go to multiplayer missions. There you see the mission file has been added, and I'll just go ahead and reopen it. And if we zoom out and zoom back in, there's where we have our LCID. Right now he's just a placeholder. What I want to cover is the attributes in the editor. If you go to General, it usually puts like whatever my profile I use, which is Kman. You could put whatever you want to in here. You know, you could say like made by Kman. In this case, I'll just leave it as Kman. You don't really need to put the title and stuff in here because it's all going to be listed or named in this description HPP mission name. Right now it differs because we haven't changed anything, and this is the default framework for Malvern's framework, but this is where you would name all of that. The script file, or that HPP file, will supersede anything that's in here for title or picture or text. DLC, it's going to require the SOG DLC, require it. You don't need anything for this or the loading screen. The debug console only available in editor. I like to enable target debugging, but this is enabled on FK servers config files, so I don't need to check this. But you see the different options here. You can just leave everything default. Nothing special initializes. Here's where you do the independence allegiance, and I believe in SOG PF independent would be like the South Vietnamese army, so they would be our friends and they would be enemies to the VC, because Blue 4 would be the Americans and VC NVA would be, or the North Vietnamese would be their Op 4. Don't need to binarize. You don't need any of these checked. A lot of these options are 3D enhanced, and so we won't really need to put anything in here. You can use these, they still will work, but for what we're doing, we don't need to use any of this. Click on attributes again, you go to environment. This is where you would set the date and time of the mission. I haven't quite determined what date and time I want to set my mission to yet. This says the weather forecast will change every 30 minutes. Right now it's going to start out with these settings. You just have to go in and play with these settings to figure out what you want it to look like. If you don't manual override these things, the ARMA engine will just go ahead and take over on whatever randomized settings that it uses. And for
User disconnected from your channel.
For the FK templates, we always override all of this. But for the purpose of this scripted mission, I'm not going to override anything. And I'll come back and set the time and date later. Go back to attributes, multiplayer. There's several options you can choose here for our FK templates. I like to put it on Zeus. You don't have to put it on anything. It really doesn't it only adds something to the editor when you're looking at a server and you're like, oh, what does this server do? So for this one, we'll just put it on SOG Prairie Fire. You could come in here and set min-max players, but again, that's going to be in the description. EXT, I always uncheck that, enable AI slots, don't auto-assign slots. The respawns are disabled because this is all handled by a different script file. The tasks and the revive are all disabled. Dynamic groups you could enable if you wanted to use the vanilla ARMA like dynamic groups, or as FK people would know it as, touch my butt to join the team. And you could set AI skill here, but it's going to be scripts in MalFramework's framework. Garbage collection and dynamic simulation will be driven by MalFramework's framework. If you wanted to, for example, see what add-ons were required for a scenario, you click on scenario, show required add-ons. Right now, this basically just says that you need the SOG DLC. That's it. So for placing down units, let's go to MalFramework's framework, and you'll see on his framework page he has a wiki. Click the wiki, and although some of it is outdated, you can still use it using the framework. I would go through and just start reading what he's written in here, because it's pretty much what I covered, but in much more detail. As the mission maker, you will want to put your Steam UID in here. Right now this is MalFramework's, but you will want it because you are it makes you automatically the admin and or able to go into Zeus to fix things, even though it's a scripted mission. But you will have some admin options that his framework provides. I would go through and read all of this, even if it doesn't make sense yet. But right now we're going to go down to, okay, that's right. So for MalFramework's framework, he does want you to put respawn on custom position. So if we go back into the mission file, go to attributes, go to multiplayer, go to respawn, and say respawn on custom position. That's all you need to click. And just click OK. You can even hit save at various times. And
User was moved to your channel.
let me come back and check on that, because I don't
User
think
left
you
your
need to do
channel.
this part anymore. But coming down here to setting up player slots, whenever I start setting down the players in the editor, or the units that players can play in the editor when the mission's running, you'll need to place this code on at least the first line of it in the init box for each unit. And what it's doing is, if you read it, like number 1, if you put SL, and this is the squad leader, this is the name of the gear in the gear script in Malvern's framework that it's going to look for. So if this said medic, it's going to choose the medic's gear. Right now this says squad leader, so it's going to choose the squad leader's gear. Unit traits, that's going to be, what was unit traits? Well, okay, so to see what unit traits covers, it would be go back to, like I have 2 tabs open, go back to his framework, go into mission framework, go into core, and then go down to player, and this again tells you what the different like the different options mean, you know, these numbers. So don't worry about this. I mean, you have to put this, but squad leader just tells you what gear it's going to give, you know, predefined gear it's going to give this player. Number 2 is platoon level leadership. They can call respawns, resupply, and call a tactical withdrawal. So what that means is it's giving, Malvern is giving this squad leader a number 2, which is the platoon level leadership, and they can call the respawns, resupply, and tactical withdrawal. Those will be explained later. Number 3, yellow, is the team color. If you were using it, like if you're going to use BFT, that's what color the marker would be on the map. And number 4 is the view distance. So if you want to limit the view distance for the squad leader to 3,000, then he put 3,000. So in this example, if you read this example right here, it's similar to this first line here. But what he hasn't included is the third array, which is, you know, the ace player variables. So the default is false, false, false. So that's what this here would be false, false, false. So he's saying this unit is going to get the medic loadout from the gear script. It has a 0 for a unit trait, which is no special ability. And in this case, number 1 is squad level leadership, which means you can deploy rally points. And number 2 would be the platoon level leadership, which can call respawns, resupply, and tactical withdrawal. And then you have true, false, false for this medic. The reason he has true here instead of false, false, false like the default is because true is medic status. So if he didn't want the medic to have medic status, this would say false. But he wants the medic to have medic status, so that's why it's true. But he doesn't want the medic to have pilot status, so it's false. And he doesn't want the medic to have engineer status, so it's false. Then he has green, which would be the BFT color, then the custom or the like the limited view distance. And I believe this is the name of the shoulder insignia. So if you know the name of the patch in the editor, you could put that name of the patch here, and that's what patch would be on the uniform of the player. And then you always put this call mf player function init player. So for the, and you see how this differs from his outdated wiki, is it doesn't include the ACE player variables, you know, the false, 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 or true, false, false, or false, true, false. So for LCID, he has nothing in his init right now. I'm just going to copy this line. I'm going to make sure there's not a space. And for LCID, we're going to make him get squad leader equipment. We'll make him have the platoon level leadership. We don't want to give him medical ability. We don't want to give him pilot ability, and we don't want to give him the engineer ability. And instead of green, we're going to make him red on the BFT if we were going to use one for Vietnam. I probably won't use it, but that'll be a config that we will turn off. So you could still put it in here, but you can still turn it off. And we'll leave the view distance at 3000. And I'm not going to give him a patch, so we'll just take that patch out of there. I don't know what patch that is or what mod it is, so if it was something that wasn't loaded, like let's say an RHS patch, then it would throw a script error. And we will just click OK. The second line in his wiki of the like setting up a player slot, this is if you're going to use TFAR. And in this case, since it's a squad leader, he probably has a long range and a short range. So number 1 is the channel for the short range, and number 2 is the channel for the long range. We'll cover that in the TFAR module, but that's what that line would be. And down here is where you would set the like the role description in the slotting screen and the squad name in the slotting screen. So we'll just say, you know, like Alpha. If you say at Alpha or at Bravo, that's going to be the in the slotting screen. We'll say Alpha and then squad leader, and then Bravo squad leader. So this actually shows squad leader shows under Alpha. So let's see. For example, we will say squad leader. I can't believe I misspelled that bad. Squad leader at, and I like dealing with recon teams in SOG because that's what they are. So we'll just say RT for recon team, and we'll say Idaho. No, you know what? We'll say Spike. I like Spike better. And I can't believe I misspelled that. Spike. You don't need to change any of these variables unless you want them to start lying down. You don't need to. You could change the rank if you wanted. You don't want to change any of the. You could change the identity and the voice and all that if you wanted to. You're not gonna need to change any of this stuff. If you wanted to start them out in an ambient animation, you could. Again, a lot of these are 3D editor or 3D enhanced options. And again, Malvern, is calling his functions for ACE in that init. But you could also do that here with just ACE. You could make him an engineer or him a medic. Remember right here, like medic, engineer, or pilot. All right, so you could click single player, but we always want to test in multiplayer because there's different environments in ARMA. There's single player environment, there's multiplayer environment where basically I would be running the mission on my computer and clients would connect to me and play. That's multiplayer. And then you have dedicated, which is what we play for FK mains, and most of our missions on FK is there's a dedicated server and all the clients connect to that dedicated server. So the closest we can get is playing in multiplayer to simulate being on that dedicated server. So when you do test your mission, when I'm building it and initially testing it, I test it in multiplayer, but I still have to put the mission file on the server and then go back and test the mission on dedicated because some things just don't work or don't cross over. So I'm just playing on a LAN. It doesn't matter. You don't need to change any of that. Just click OK. And there you have the slot. RT Spike Squad Leader. I could have put LCID, whatever. There's the name of the mission. I haven't created a description yet. It's blue 4. I, can, click the slot, go into the mission, which has not been built yet, but, goes to your, so don't worry about these debug alerts. Debug mode is active by default in Malvern's framework, but before you're going to play the mission, you would turn the debug off so you wouldn't be seeing these. These are to help you, test your mission. There's the map. We haven't created any markers. We haven't created a briefing. We haven't even set up, the gear script or anything. So he will just start with default gear. We haven't named it a mission name. We haven't given it a nice cool picture or description. Excuse me. And here we have LCID with a LCID that does not look like LCID. But anyway, we're on the Camlo nap. I just say nap. We're on the cam map, and this is all we have so far. I wonder why LCID looks like that. Did I choose LCID? I'm pretty sure I did. Let me make sure I did that right. Oh, I know why I did that. So I did choose LCID. The unit name is actually, the config name is Vietnam _ B _ min _ SOG _ 23. But the reason that it had that uniform was because Squad Leader in Malvern's framework right now, because we haven't done anything with the gear script, is all of this equipment. So that's why he looked like that. So if let's see if we take this out, if LCID, and once you come up here and click play multiplayer once, this will change to play multiplayer. So you don't have to come back up here if you don't want to. You can just come back here and click multiplayer. Choose the slot, go into the mission. Doesn't have a map. There's El Cid, but he's naked because the framework, if you don't assign them gear, they start out with nothing. That was Fast and Furious, and there was, if you have any questions, just hit me up, one of the techs, or someone else that you know that can make missions, and I will cover video number 3. Thank you.